One thing that came to mind this past weekend, Josh Allen is undoubtedly a superstar. When you realize what he did against the Patriots defense, a defense that ranks second in the NFL this year, it becomes a lot easier to swallow the Josh Allen superstar pill, especially for those who once believed him to be a bust. Of course, he threw for 5 touchdowns while only throwing for 4 incompletions. The Bills became the first team in history to score a touchdown on each of their first 7 drives of a playoff game, and the first team to ever have a playoff game with at least 7 touchdowns, no punts, and no turnovers. Allen completed over 80% of his passes, rushed for over 50 yards, and had 5 TDs. That is something no quarterback has ever done, playoffs or not. It was a beatdown of epic proportions, and Allen was the man behind it all. Bill Belichick may at times play chess while everyone else is playing checkers, but Allen delivered the checkmate heard round the NFL. He pantsed not just Bill, but his son Steve as well, who calls the defensive side of the ball for the Patriots. They had no answer for Allen, and Bill's offensive coordinator Brian Daboll, a former Belichick assistant, who has now flashed his potential as a future head coach of the league. All of this happened on the biggest stage, and it put the NFL on notice. That game might have won Daboll a head coaching job, because all he has to do in interviews is just roll the tape from Saturday night, and someone is bound to hand him the keys to a franchise. And for Allen, it was yet another warning to the league that destiny has arrived. And that destiny is his generational talent producing at the level it's capable of on the biggest stage. Another thing I was thinking about was how the whole football world has spent the last couple of years or so talking about how Patrick Mahomes can do things that maybe no other quarterback can. Well, if you think about it, Josh Allen can do things that Patrick Mahomes can't. Potentially with his arm, but a lot of it actually has to do with designed quarterback runs. Obviously, Mahomes can be a dual threat, but I think it's safe to say that Allen can be more of one. He's more natural of a runner, and he's bigger and stronger, and can, quite frankly, take more of a beating. Obviously, you don't want your quarterback taking too much of a beating, but it's nice to know Allen won't get up half limping after taking a hard hit like Mahomes does at times. In no way am I trying to criticize Mahomes. Being a better or worse dual threat is obviously no end-all be-all for good quarterback play. And if you've listened to me talk about Mahomes previously on this channel, then you'll know I think of him as a generational player, of course. Which is why I'm using him to compare another generational player. And Allen proved he was that Saturday night. He proved he was a superstar, because only superstars have games like that. It's funny looking back, though, and remembering the portrayal of Allen even just a few years ago. Now all the people calling Allen a bust look like fools now, but the truth is that Allen had some flaws that dated back through college. And once he hit the NFL, those flaws just seemed to run rampant. There was a tendency to play hero ball, which resulted in too many blunders, some of which came at the worst of times. He looked like yet another unpolished, big-arm quarterback that couldn't get over his mistakes. We've seen that story many times in NFL history, and many people thought Allen was just yet another player drafted too high based on his potential. Football Outsiders called him a parody of an NFL prospect, and people like Troy Aikman and even Bill Belichick were among his most notorious doubters. But of course, they weren't the only ones who doubted Allen. I'd say the majority of the football world figured he was headed for bust status. But the potential was the key. He was able to show improvements every year. As he developed and gained experience, the reckless plays diminished. Completion percentage can be a bit overrated, but to jump over 10% in 1 year is just unheard of and perfectly illustrates how much he improved from year 1 and 2 Josh Allen to year 3 Josh Allen. Much of the credit deservingly goes to Allen for that, but the Bills coaching staff also put on a brilliant display on how to develop a player and trust a player that he will develop. One of the key fixes was with his feet. Allen's offseason technique coach is Jordan Palmer, who told ESPN that Allen drastically changed his base, which eliminated an overstride in his throwing motion that also created more balance. Due to travel restrictions, Allen left himself in a football bubble, which led to great technique improvements. but improvements can be physical as well as mental. The Bills have done a great job at teaching Allen to stay risk-averse, which in return drop the turnover totals. Of course, you need a quarterback to remain a consistent student of the game for that to work. He needs to be willing to use what he's being taught in the film room and put it on display on game day. And Allen has done a wonderful job at that and has proved that a project quarterback can match their production and talent level. I, like many others, have wondered why it took so long to nail down some of these corrections. And part of the answer is not all players are going to be Andrew Luck NFL ready, so expectations need to be adjusted. And for Allen in particular, he didn't really have the coaching other prospects received prior to the NFL. He played at a small high school and missed out on quarterback camps, then played at a junior college before making his way to Wyoming. By comparison to some of these quarterbacks who come out of high school as a 5 or 4-star recruit, Allen was thousands of reps behind when it came to playing against top-tier competition. I think he always had the physical and mental tools, but he was just never given what some other prospects were given. The fact that he could survive and keep his head above water and make it to where he is today is truly remarkable. Maybe the only thing left to prove is the true consistency it takes to be a Super Bowl champion. Can Allen and the Bills do what they need to do for 4 straight games? That has been the question that dates back to last year's explosive output that ended in disappointment. And it's been a question that has materialized throughout this season as the Bills score 6 points against the Jaguars one week and drop 38 on the Chiefs another week. So if they're going to want to beat the Chiefs again, then they need another week like that. And this time, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to turn over the ball 3 different times. So the need for Josh Allen's greatness has never been greater. When you look back to last year's disappointing end, the lasting image was Stefon Diggs staring into the abyss of red and gold confetti. That picture spoke 1,000 words on what sports are all about. The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. 1 year later, with every hot day of training camp, every last rep in the gym, I guarantee the memory of Chiefs confetti was fresh on the mind of this Bills team. And in order to overcome their demons of the past, they must once again lean on their superstar quarterback. If you're interested in more Josh Allen content, I made a video last year on his full story from childhood to unknown and overlooked recruit through his NFL journey that many of you would probably enjoy. I'll leave a link to that one in the description. As always, thanks for watching, and please consider subscribing for more content just like this.